It was the beginning of yet another Trump victory, a live television show where he believed he would once again crush his opponent with words. On stage stood a comedian, Jimmy Kimmel, a man known across America as the face of laughter, but that night his smile carried the weight of something far more serious, almost like a silent revolution. At first, the atmosphere was light. The audience laughed, cameras rolled, and Trump, as usual, was soaked in confidence. "No one can beat me," his face practically announced. But then, something happened that didn't just shift the tone of the show, it shook the very axis of American politics. Scene 1, from laughter to debate. Jimmy Kimmel walked onto the stage, in a simple suit, but with an unusual seriousness in his eyes. Smiling lightly, he said, "Mr. President, we're not here for jokes tonight. The questions are serious." The audience went silent. Trump chuckled and replied, "I thought you were a clown, not a journalist." Without hesitation, Kimmel responded, "Maybe I am a clown, but the questions I'm asking tonight belong to every citizen of this country." The mood shifted instantly. Camera flashes flickered. That night, America held its breath. Scene 2, the Constitution and the Question. Kimmel cited an article from the Constitution and asked, "Mr. President, you've used your personal property for political promotion. Isn't that an abuse of power?" Trump smiled, then laughed. "Look, these are the same questions fake media asked. I don't need rules, I am the rule." Some in the crowd laughed, but most sat frozen. Kimmel calmly said, "If you are the rule, then where is democracy?" Trump's smile vanished. He pointed a finger and said, "You're trying to sound smart. You don't even have a real law degree. Did you get it from a cereal box?" The room erupted in awkward laughter, but Kimmel's eyes remained steady. He said softly, "Thank you, Mr. President, but I don't need a fake degree. I have real courage." Scene 3, the Silence and the Truth. The camera zoomed in. Trump's frustration was visible. "Courage," he repeated. "Courage is what I've shown. I made America great." Kimmel replied gently, "Or maybe, divided it." The audience gasped. Trump slammed his hand on the table. "You're a comedian, you don't understand politics." Kimmel quietly answered, "But the people do." The sentence echoed in the studio. For a moment, even time seemed to pause. Scene 4, the 50-year lie. Kimmel leaned forward and said, "You've sold a story of success your entire career. But how much of it is true, Mr. President?" He pulled out an old newspaper from his pocket. "This is your company's report from 1975. It says you sold New York property as your own, even though it was government land." Trump's face turned red. He shouted, "That's a lie. The media lies." Kimmel replied without emotion, "Not the media, the government record." Applause filled the studio. Some people stood up. Trump looked at the cameras and barked, "This is an attack. Not on me, on America." But America wasn't laughing anymore. Scene 5, the turning point. Trump fumed. "People like you weaken the country. You spread fake news." Kimmel said softly, "Maybe, but the questions I'm asking belong to every taxpayer." Trump rose from his chair and shouted, "I'm leaving this show." Kimmel only said, "Before you go, running from truth doesn't turn it into a lie." The hall went dead silent. Trump glared at Kimmel for a second, then stormed off the stage without another word. Cameras kept rolling. The crowd erupted in applause. Scene 6, after the broadcast. The show ended, but the internet caught fire. Everywhere, the same clip went viral. Trump's anger, Kimmel's calm smile, and that one unforgettable line, "Running from truth doesn't turn it into a lie." All night, news channels replayed the debate. Political analysts said, this was the moment Trump's charm cracked. The White House released a statement. The president was insulted, but the public replied, "No, the president exposed himself." Scene 7, behind the curtain of power. The next morning, chaos erupted inside Trump's team. Advisors said, "You need to go back on TV and clarify." Trump replied, "I don't clarify. I attack." He tweeted, "Jimmy Kimmel is fake, his degree is fake, and he hates America." But the people were no longer the same as in 2016. They had learned to ask questions. Under every tweet came a flood of replies. "Then who's lying, Mr. President, the papers or you? Is the law still in your pocket, or is the truth finally out?" Scene 8, the document of truth. 3 days later, Kimmel returned on his show with another document, an old business deal where Trump had admitted to tax evasion. He said, "This isn't comedy anymore. This is about the American taxpayer, and maybe, this is what real America looks like." The audience clapped. Kimmel continued, "We all hold one degree, a degree in honesty. And that's not something you find inside a cereal box." Scene 9, the silent president. Trump began avoiding cameras. Every press conference echoed the same question, "Mr. President, will you respond to Jimmy Kimmel's claims?" He smiled and said, "He's a comedian. I'm the president." But deep inside, there was restlessness, a quiet fear that more truth might still surface. Scene 10, the people's verdict. Weeks later, a poll came out. 62% of Americans said, Kimmel showed more truth than the president. It wasn't just a debate, it was the exposure of a 50-year-old lie. A man who believed himself a genius crumbled before the weight of truth. Final scene, the silence behind the camera. That night, as Kimmel returned home, his wife asked, "Weren't you afraid?" He smiled and said, "No, because when a lie grows too big, telling the truth becomes the greatest act of comedy." She smiled back and said, "And maybe that's your real degree." And that's how America saw, for the first time, a comedian speak truth and shake power, and a president, convinced of his own genius, collapse under the weight of his own arrogance.
And please like the video and subscribe to the channel.